way, I mean, in terms of your mental mindset, knowing how disciplined they're being and the triple option as opposed to going against a typical spread off?
Well, it presents, a different set of challenges than obviously the normal spread offense. Some principles are the same. You want your guys to play disciplined and, physical, sound in everything that you do, regardless of the scheme. But this one requires a little bit stricter demands that way. And I think obviously playing Georgia Tech down the road, this will give us, some carryover. And this staff offensively, I know the head coach is very involved offensively. It's kind of what he does. It's his MO. So they got answers to big fast guys. So they're going to really challenge all of our guys, particularly our young guys, to not try to do too much, and do their job for 60 minutes. So it's exciting though, because of that challenge. Got you on edge and excited to watch your guys go out and compete.
They're different than Georgia Tech though, in that they're more of a true triple option under center. Is that the way they play, or how are they similar or different?
Well, Georgia Tech's under center most of the game, and really all the game, the whole game. They've run a little bit of pistol through the last few years, but 90%, 95% of what Georgia Tech does is underneath. These guys get in the gun, and will do more of the triple out of the gun as well as underneath. So you'll see some similarities and some differences, but I think they're the end result's the same. Dive, quarterback, alley, and pitch, and probably throwing the ball a little bit more, in some ways more conventional than Georgia Tech.
Would you describe their quarterback as more shifty rather than top end fast? How would you describe?
Well, they've got 4 of them, so they haven't listed their starter yet. So they've got some big guys with quickness, and you got a smaller guy that jacks. I say small, he's 6'2", 205. So they're all good athletes, good quickness, good speed, and good understanding of what they do. Nifty with the ball, faking you out, good with the ball, and good speed. Manager of the game. So they're about all the same in at the end of the day.
A lot of your co-coaches and players have been asked about the Wofford game from 4 years ago. But you weren't here. How much stock can you put?
Oh, I heard about it as soon as I got here. Then I asked why we play them. If we don't have to, why do we play them? I got about 3 or 4 other ideas if anybody's looking for them about teams to play, but nobody has yet to ask me. But I've been warned. I understand why after watching them. And again, they can just create a whole nother set of problems. They really take advantage of mistakes that you make and force you to play with great precision and discipline for 60 minutes. And by nature of what they do, I think the Coastal Division champ was Georgia Tech last year, and it's 24-19 deep into the fourth quarter. Same Georgia Tech team that kicked our butt. So that's what I saw from Wofford from just this last year's video. So it's but like I said, it's exciting for the challenge, and we'll need to play really, really well defensively to give ourselves a chance to win.
Do you feel good about working on cut blocks and where your team is with that right now?
Yeah, I mean, we work cut blocks every single day, not just this week, but I just think that whether people are in screens or a lot of the spread game, people trying to mow you down and get you off your feet, and if you're not on your feet, you can't make plays. So fundamentally, it's something that we do a lot of. Obviously, when you play an option team, they put themselves into an advantageous position to cut block you, and it's not like they're announcing, hey, I'm the guy coming to cut block you. So they've got some different ways, and with their crack scheme and with their receivers, and their backs do a really good job of running full speed at you. So it's a different tempo than what a lot of traditional teams do. So, but it's a critical part of our success defensively. If we're not on our feet, we can't defend them very well. So starting inside out, that's a big part of this game.
Whenever you play an option team like this with the cut blocking, you have kind of a set speech that you've created that you talk to the guys about how you mentally handle
Oh, sure.
the guys
That's
going
that's the first thing that we talk about is being able to stay on our feet defensively. And every down's a rundown, and you got to be able to stay on your feet. All 11 of us defensively, pursuing the football. And so if they get they set up a blocking scheme on the perimeter just right, we need great pursuit inside out. And if you're not on your feet, you don't have that pursuit. So that's day one motivation for our guys.
And how about trying to help the players kind of overcome the mental aspect of all of a sudden having guys diving at their knees? I don't see that.
That's what the psychologist is for. I'm not for that, but yeah, you got to be fearless. You got to be physical. You can't play on your heels, in this game and be successful. And this is a big part of it. You got to, you have to attack cut blocks like they're attacking you. You got to attack them back in the same manner, with technique, and stay aggressive. And they're hopeful that, by the third and fourth quarter, guys are tired of getting cut and just come a little bit slower. And on our side, we're hopeful that they're tired of not making the cut block, and we're physically bringing it to them as well, and they're tired of going after us. So they get a lot of games into the second half, and it's a ball game late into the second half, and that's a big part of their success.
Coming out of fall camp, going into game week, how many corners do you want to rotate?
I don't know. Rotate, I just hope we got two. I'll be very honest. I'm not real concerned. We have a depth chart. You all have seen that. And, I'm hopeful we keep two of them healthy out there. So, you always like to be a solid two deep and maybe a swing guy. And I think that we have that.
Is Cordray strong in his starting spot? Or?
You never, across the board, you never feel great about where you're at. You always want to be better. You're never satisfied with where we're at. I think this time of the year, there's a lot of unknowns, and certainly, you have you wish you had another week of fall camp to iron some things out and get some guys better, but that's kind of what the season's for, and that you're hopeful that wherever you start, you finish a heck of a lot better by the end of the year. And to say he's strong, I think he's been pretty consistent and pretty solid, and not spectacular, but not far behind. So
Is that Ryan or Adrian in there behind him?
Behind him, Adrian's not into the boundary, but Ryan's playing some boundary. McKenzie's playing some boundary, and feel pretty good about those guys, all of them.
With some of the young guys, especially in backup roles, and playing an offense that requires assignment football on defense, do you worry about missed assignments with the young guys against this offense?
It's not real complicated as far as your assignments. You're concerned more with technique, the consistency of that technique. That's the biggest thing. Having good eyes, good feet, good hand placement, those kinds of things. It's not real complicated from an assignment standpoint. Just technique, doing their job, not trying to guess, tackle the dive, play the trap, stay on your feet, those kinds of things.
Coach, the Death Valley crowd is usually an advantage for the defense. When you're facing an opponent like Wofford or Georgia Tech, where it's as much about concentration and discipline as it is adrenaline, I don't want to say is it a detriment, but is it less of an advantage for games like that?
Oh, I think anytime you got the home crowd screaming, yelling in somebody's ear, it can be good, but they're only going to scream and yell if you're doing something well. So if we're not playing very good, it's going to be pretty quiet in Death Valley. So careful what you wish for. And so you're hopeful that by the time we get to game time, our guys, they can tune everything out and just play the game. That's what really good players do and good units do. they're able to not allow any distractions in. So that'll be the challenge.
With the time that Kendall missed, are you concerned at all about putting him out there?
I'm not concerned with putting him out there, but just concerned with where he's at. But looked good the last couple days that he's practiced, and he's an instinctual player, finds the ball. He's not what you would call a rep guy that needs to see it 8 times over. So that's to his advantage, and we did a good job, our training staff, of keeping him in shape as well, all the while. So I think he'll be fine.
Where's Wilkins in his development going into his first game?
I think Christian is he's ready to play and play winning football, and he's going to have some growing pains. You're not going to whoever the bell cow 3 technique in the NFL is, that's not him yet, and that's unfair to put him there. But Christian is ahead of the curve in his transition and his development, but he's got a ton to learn. He's going to make mistakes along the way, and he'll improve and grow from those based on what we've seen. And a year from now, he's going to have a ton of experience and a lot more functional strength to him. He had almost 4 months. He was had a wrist surgery, and he was really out of the weight room pushing heavy weights for almost 4 months prior to getting here in the summer. So that part of him hasn't developed yet. And like I said, he's got a lot to learn. Experience is everything, and but we're awfully excited about his continued progress, and again, where he's at first games will be a lot different than where he's at game 9, game 10.
Have you, having not had him until now, have you grown to appreciate Travis's impact and influence?
Who's?
Blanks on the defense in general as well?
Yeah, Travis is an incredible leader, very selfless, very coachable. Great football intelligence. He retains information. He retains corrections. Very uncanny-like, like the best I've been around that way. And he's got a tremendous humility. Been awesome for us in our meeting room and on the football field that way. It's really transcended and helped our chemistry in our back seven. So he's got great respect, not only for what he's gone through, but just how he carries himself as a man and as a teammate, as a leader.
Brent, can you enlighten us on what kind of player Jalen Williams is, for those who haven't?
Yep. Jalen is got very good instincts. He got good quickness. He's a good tackler. He's relentless chasing the football. Still a young player, and we'll have to make some mistakes, but got great football intelligence, really is ahead of the curve that way. Hard to block. He doesn't stay blocked. When he does get blocked initially, he gets off of blocks really well. So I'm excited about Jalen, and he's a guy that cares a great deal about his performance and his preparation, and he's not just excited about getting to the game. I've coached those guys that they want nothing to do with the preparation. They just want to get to the game because they love to play, according to them. But you can't put the cart before the horse, and Jalen really values the preparation, the detail that goes in behind playing at a high level. And for a young guy, that's normally not the case. They don't want to worry about all the details. The details are not important to them, but Jalen has shown that that's an exception. That he's an exception that way in how he thinks.
You can think back to 2 years ago. What jumped out to you about Jalen?
Everything. Probably the number one thing was how competitive he was. His skill set was good. He moved well. He was sudden. He was quick. He was instinctive. But he was just very, very competitive. All the while, just had a faceless look about him, like he was just very focused and determined. And that set him apart from a lot of guys that he was competing with. And then he endured that effort through, a couple of days. As he showed up, had invited him to come, didn't know if he was gonna, hadn't heard from him, and he shows up, and so that was a pleasant surprise. And he was just going to come for one practice, and asked him if he'd stick around, and so his coaches took him, and he bought some extra change of drawers and showed up for the next couple of days, and just continued to compete. It resonates with me when I hear the story about Grady Jarrett, that was going to be in the front of the line and take every rep and just wear out people. And Jalen was the same way. He just continued to impress the longer you were around him. So that's who he's been since he's been here. So again, he hadn't tackled anybody in a game yet, and he's got a long career ahead of him. Again, he's got a ton of work to do, like a lot of young guys, but he's got a really good, strong foundation in his passion and his want to chase the football, and he's got good instincts and good quickness to him.
How about a little bit on how you've seen Goodson develop in the time you've had him?
Well, just his toughness, probably from the first part of his career to where he's at now, and enduring adversity, and fighting through the adversity and competing with himself better, longer, more consistently, being a better leader. He's always been a guy that's never on a list, but to be a really good player, let alone a great player, you gotta go above and beyond that. And so he's always been a good kid, but just competing with himself. It's what the great ones do. They don't care about who else is in their line. They just compete to be the best, and with intensity and just relentlessness and everything that they do. Like it's the end of the world on this next play if I don't perform at a high level. And just having that urgency about them is something that we're trying to get to, and I'm hopeful that we're close to it now. And I've seen a lot of improvement in all those areas with him, and he's had a really good fall camp.
The two things I most remember about him early on was he was a little undersized
BJ?
coming in, but he had a high IQ, had a high football IQ.
Yeah, he's always been. He's been over 230 pounds since I've been here, but he's about almost 250 right now, and he's always been really strong in the weight room strength and his power, and he's been a natural thumper when he strikes people. And I really think it's just all those other things, hungry, tough, have a chip on your shoulder, all the adjectives that you like, swagger. I'm not a big swagger guy, but I like people that like to rip people's face off. And so if you want to call that swagger, then because I see too many guys swagger without the play, behind it. So, beating their chest and making some ordinary, basic, fundamental play that I can get a circus monkey to do, But anyway, that's what you want to see is guys. And for BJ, loving making plays and loving competing at a high level and just having an edge to him. And again, I really believe that being behind maybe Stephon and Spencer and Tony and some of those guys, maybe the mindset was, well, those guys are, they're in front of me. I'm not going to get my time. So instead of getting out of the back seat and climbing up in the middle of the front seat, he decided to stay in the back seat, and now it's his time. And so I have seen a change, and so I'm hopeful that transcends to, making, plays and being a real effective middle linebacker for us, and I believe it will.
He's not squeamish about ripping faces then.
He's been pretty good, but I wait to those games to really figure everything out. And sometimes that takes a little bit to figure all that out. But some guys, I had a guy that was a multi-year All-American for me. He was one of the worst practice players. He just drove me bananas. He was intense and worked hard, but we just looked bad. But when he got to the game, man, he made every play and then some. And I wouldn't say BJ's a bad practice player, but, you know, maybe unimpressive sometimes. And I believe he's that guy that plays differently than he practices. We'll see.
You've been taking some snaps?
I'm sorry?
You've been taking some
Me?
snaps? Yeah, somebody said yesterday you were running quarterback in the scout team?
Oh, I was just walk through stuff. Yeah, just a little bit.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Anything else?